this is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Russell.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Russell.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Russell. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. This is episode number 74, brought to you by MyHouse. MyHouse has been sponsoring the podcast for like 6 months now, Lars?
Something like that. It's been quite a while.
Quite a while, yeah. They've been good to us, and hopefully our listeners have been picking up some of their gear, getting their teams outfitted for this coming up season. It's a busy time of the year for us. I kind of jumped the gun. I'll introduce you. This is joining me is Mr. Lars Underbaki. Lars, you made your first return to the podcast since I went back and looked. Number 68 was your last one, and then you came back last week for the rankings. So how's it feel to be back on the podcast?
Doing good. It's been busy, coaching junior high and trying to get those rankings ready and little kids and everything else. But I'm just excited that the high school season's finally here and ready to roll.
Yeah, and preseason rankings came out. That was the big discussion last week. You recorded the podcast before our rankings came out. Also, shout out to Des Moines Register for putting top 5 of 3A and 2A in there. Got your good hard work featured in the newspaper, which is always fun. Did you give any rankings feedback? Did you catch some flack? Being first is always tough.
Yeah, I really didn't catch a whole lot for 2A. There was 1 or 2 people maybe who thought they could be a spot or 2 higher, but really nothing major. No real complaints on the 2A end. A few questions. People were shocked to not see a guy like Millage in there. They read the first paragraph of the rankings, though. We weren't ranking guys that we knew were going to be out for an extended period of time. So, Millage has got to sit till January. A guy like Tristan Wirfs at heavyweight's going to be out for a while. So we left those guys out and we don't rank freshmen. So, once we explained that to people, it wasn't a big deal at all. Really didn't hear much of anything bad on 2A.
Now, not ranking freshmen is something, we always do in the first set, but were there some guys that there were some freshmen, were there any of those that were like, man, he'll probably be in there real soon? Is there anybody standing out to you right now?
Yeah, there's a couple guys at 106 in 2A. A guy like Will Esmoil from West Liberty, Jack Thompson from Union. You got Curry from Sergeant Moore from Denver. Really tough class in there. But most of the big-time freshmen, there was a lot in 3A. Colin Shriver and Cody Anderson, Brock Espelin, and Eli Lloyd. There's some really big names there. And then in 1A as well, Cal stuff that everybody knows about and stuff like that. So there was definitely some around, probably in 2A, that were ready to be ranked to start the year.
Gotcha. And you brought up Thompson of Union, so that makes me think there was one question I had. I've been talking to Derek Holschlag a little bit in the off season. Talked to him right when he committed to UNI. He said he was going to be at 138, but you had him at 132. So I'm just kind of curious, did that come from him, the coach? Do they think he's going to be at 32? Is that going to be an option this year for him?
I did talk to the coach up there at Union, and that is the weight that I was told anyway. Things could change. Like I say, preseasons can be a little difficult. Trying to get a hold of coaches. Some of them hadn't done their body compositions yet, things like that. But that is what I was told by the coaches up at Union.
Well, that'll be a tough weight for him to get down to, but I think he can really, light it up there. So definitely a positive for the Union team, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a big move for him if he can hold 132 and feel comfortable. You avoid a guy like Keaton Gertz,
exactly.
38. So I think it would be a good weight for him to be at.
Perfect. Well, we can go ahead and jump into this last weekend. There was a lot going down between the three D1 schools. There was 4 duels, and first up on the menu was Northern Colorado taking on Iowa State. It's kind of fun to see, Iowa State travel down to UNC and duel with Troy Nickerson, the former assistant there at Iowa State. So kind of funny to always see, just that assistant coach that goes off to another school and has his old coaching stomping grounds coming into his house. Did not turn out well for Nickerson, though. I think Iowa State came out on top. Do you remember the final on that one?
I think it was 1917, I believe.
All right. Well,
1916.
I mean, this was, it's obviously good for Iowa State to get their first win of the year as a dual team. But it was really important for some of the guys coming back. They got Queon Smith coming back at heavyweight. Earl Hall made his official debut, in the lineup attached. And then they also got back Gabe Marino at 141. So, Lars, did you have anything that you saw in the UNC duel that kind of stood out to you?
I mean, actually a couple of their losses stood out to me a little bit. Gabe Marino, had a rough weekend. We'll get into it a little bit more later. But see him lose to Timmy Box was a little bit of a surprise to begin with. And then he lost 13-2. So I'm not sure if it's part of it's just the weight cut. He's all the way down at 141. If it's a really hard pull he's trying to get used to. But that one definitely stood out to me. And I was a little surprised to see Pistano go down as well. I was thinking pretty highly of Dane coming into this year, but he's having a few struggles as well. So hopefully he can right the ship. But definitely good to see, Smith and Hall and those guys back in the lineup. Chase Straw, I thought, had a pretty good weekend. Nice to see another young Iowa guy in there. So, there are still questions with the lineup. I know they forfeited 25 in that duel. You still missing Harrington at 197. So, it's really hard to judge Iowa State right now. I know a lot of people are really down on them. But, you get Downey back and you get Harrington back, and if Simmons can be the guy at 25 and Marino settles into the way, there's still a lot of room to improve there. This team can still contend and get some guys in the stand in March, but they got a long ways to go from where they're at right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder if the Cyclones having to forfeit 125 was maybe something to do with Simmons' weight, more than an injury, because we did see him the next day in the Wyoming duel. So I kind of wonder if that weight is going to be something that wears on him this year. Are they going to kind of take a measured approach to maybe he skips a duel here and there and he's just focusing on his weight? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background with these guys too. They're in school. And it's just, there's a lot going on to be just focusing on wrestling. And if you're focused on March to, perform there, I think it's just going to be interesting to see how they manage Simmons. Earl Hall had a really nice 7-0 win over Rico Montoya. The only match of the night, I think, that had 2 ranked wrestlers in it. So, yeah, like you said, really good to see Earl Hall back in the mix. And I don't know about you, Lars. It was kind of tough to watch this UNC stream, because I know one of the guys was definitely a UNC wrestler. So he's sitting there and he's talking about, all the guys on the team. And it was just kind of really hard to listen to this one-sided approach, with the commentators there. But what I would say is they were really high on Timmy Box, who did beat Marino. So they really, brought it home before that match even started. They were talking about, Timmy Box, one of these senior leaders for UNC. And he came out and he put a good whooping on Marino a little bit. And maybe that is first time getting back with weight, but he's definitely one of the big guys in this North Colorado lineup.
Yeah, I mean, let's say he's a good wrestler. Just kind of surprising. I think we've all kind of been waiting for Marino to take that jump forward. And I still think he can. It was just to see him get majored by just about anybody is a little bit of a surprise. To get majored by a guy who's not a top 10, top 5 wrestler definitely stood out to me a little bit.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Iowa State, though, coming out, it was kind of ugly, but they got that win. Like you said, they're missing, they were missing their 25, missing their 97, missing their 84-pounder. So missing three pretty key guys for that lineup. That could have significantly swung this duel. They lost at 25-84. Maybe you get bonus from Downey. You're talking, double-digit swing for the Cyclones if they're at full strength. So we'll have to see how they go, moving on. But they did take on Wyoming the next day. We kind of hit on this. This was a loss. This is their third Big 12 loss of the season. They went down 19-15 to the Cowboys. Lars, did you have any big takeaways from this duel?
I would say, probably the only real thing that stood out was, again, the guy's missing. And then you had some lineup changes. You had Rodriguez Spencer coming in at 65, which was a change. Simmons does wrestle at 25, which is great to see. I think he's a real threat to do big things there if he can, maintain the weight and be the guy. But that's still the question. But, I think most of the matches went somewhat maybe the way you'd see him go with the guys that were in the lineup. So I don't know if any of the results stood out too much. Maybe Queon Smith going down at heavyweight. They had, I don't know if you got to see it, but I think he probably outweighed their heavyweight by, 70, 80 pounds anyway, and gave up some late points to lose that match, which was a little bit tough to swallow. He gets that win, and Iowa State wins the duel, but that's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting to see that match result. Nobody really saw it coming. Smith's a guy that, they've been beating that drum, that he's just been getting better every year. So it's very disappointing to see him go down there at heavyweight. Carson Powell, though, filling in for Downey, did get a win. I believe that was his that was like his first win since 2013 or something, I want to say, in the lineup, or maybe 2014. It was something like a crazy stat where the last time Powell started, that he got a dual win for them. So that was kind of cool to see him get a win for the first time in 2-3 years. Like you said, Simmons came back. Earl Hall wrestled a tough guy, Drew Templeman, ranked opponent. And then we talked a little bit about, Marino coming back and having those struggles. He comes out against the returning NCAA runner-up, Bryce Meredith, and he got pinned in the second period. So not the weekend return that Gabe Marino definitely wanted.
Right. There's no shame in losing to Meredith. This guy's an animal. Like you said, he was runner-up. Again, though, I just don't expect to see him get pinned. I think that's what stood out to me more than anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we'll see. Maybe it's a lot of trust in that shoulder, too. I don't want to make a ton of excuses, but Marino's coming back from a lot. He's dropping a weight. It's the first time he's made weight. He's had that shoulder injury. There's just a lot going on with him where, there might be some rust. It's probably been 10 months maybe since he wrestled a competitive, live match on the NCAA level. So we'll see. Hopefully he gets back on his feet this weekend. Iowa State will be heading out to Las Vegas for the Cliff Keen Invitational. Going to be a lot of good teams there. A good chance and opportunity for some of these Cyclones to bounce back. Maybe some of them to continue their momentum, like Earl Hall, Marcus Simmons. Definitely seeing positive things from them. Do you have any other thoughts on the Cyclones weekend, Lars?
No, I don't think so. Like I say, I just can't wait to see them actually get their lineup back together and get everybody healthy and at the right weights, and see if they can make a little run here yet this year.
Yeah, like both they've had two dual trips, double dual trips, and I think they've been missing at least 3 starters both times. So it's just crazy how they get these 3 guys back, they lose these 3, and it's a mess right now. Also kind of wonder what's going on with Sammy Colbray. They burned that red shirt, or potentially burnt that red shirt in the North Dakota State duel. They wrestled Sammy Colbray up at heavyweight. I'm kind of hearing some things that that red shirt might be coming back. I'm not sure if it's an injury to Colbray, but I'm starting to hear some things, not necessarily from Iowa State, but from somebody else around that program that would know that maybe the red shirt's coming back. So that's going to be something we're definitely going to be following, trying to see what's going on there. Lars, there was a whooping this weekend. There's a couple whoopings here. But, the old Schwab mob hosted a conference duel with Old Dominion. They moved to 8-0 against Old Dominion. They came out and pounded them 29-9 in front of a nice little home crowd there at the West Gym. Did you take a look at these results, get to see the duel? I mean, was there anything that you were just, blown away in this UNI duel?
Well, yeah, I think anytime you look at 184, Drew Foster, talented kid, but kind of unproven at this point, and goes in and knocks off Jack Deckow, number 9 in the country. He was an All-American a couple years ago. And he beat him 6-1, so it's not like it was a fluke at the end. I mean, he just came out and beat him. So that one really stood out. That's just a great win for Foster. Having a really good year so far. So really fun to see him step up. A lot of people thought, Holschlag would be the guy at 184 this year too. So got a little competition there, which is always good to see, building some depth up at UNI. Other than that, I don't know if you think stood out too much. Bryce Steidert going up, he's at 165 from what I'm hearing, maybe for the rest of the year. He goes up and knocks off Wright, who was ranked as well. So that's a really good win for him, up a weight, as he starts adjusting to life at 165. And then seeing Dylan Peters back out there and getting back on the right track and doing Dylan Peters things, picking up a fall in the West Gym.
Yeah, that, like you said, Foster, I was definitely guilty of that too, man. I was thinking Foster, I didn't think he was going to be in the lineup this year. I thought it was going to be Holschlag. He's proven me wrong, going out there beating the top 10 guy. That was amazing to see. Taylor Lujan continues to be a fun guy to watch. But I tell you what, if this UNI team's going to go anywhere, it's going to be because they can score bonus points. You already hit on it that Dylan Peters was back. He picked up a fall. Unfortunately, it wasn't over. They have a ranked guy that his name is escaping me. I can't remember who it is, but it was Steven Simpson who he wrestled, and he pinned him. So, but he's picking up bonus, and then you got this next guy, Josh Albert. He had that big fall the week before against Missouri, right? Was that the duel that he?
Yep. I think so, yeah.
So he came out. He got that big fall, gets a major decision against Alex Madragel. So he's scoring bonus. Those two guys are going to be key. Max Townsend, another guy picking up bonus. I mean, just you can see these guys starting they're feeding off each other, I think. And I think that's just going to be real positive things for UNI going forward if these guys are going to go out and score points like they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of young guys in that lineup. So to see, those guys able to come into, NCAA wrestling and not only pick up wins, but start to build leads and, really score a lot of points and everything like that. I think that's a really good sign for the future and, for the right now for this year. They're, proven that they're ready to compete and be right in that mix. So I think a lot of good things coming out of UNI. Like I say, Brandon Jeske was missing at 125 for ODU, but still good to see, Peters, hopefully he's getting healthier and healthier as he goes. And, him picking up a win, he's kind of the leader of that team. So it's really fun to see these guys get rolling and, put up some points.
Yeah, and the fall by Peters, I knew this from last year that he was catching Mozafe, and that fall that put him at 37 for his career. He's not tied with Mozafe, who's a pretty good wrestler for UNI. What was that, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so I mean, coming out, he's catching Mozafe, top 5 for UNI in career fall. So love seeing Peters back. Love seeing him healthy. Panthers they have another home event of sorts next weekend, or this coming weekend, I should say. They got the UNI Open starting at 9 a.m. December 3rd. Sounds like Illinois is going to bring some starters, including the 2-time national champ Isaiah Martinez. I think Missouri usually sends up their squad. or at least, some guys, Nick Ryder saying the starters are coming this year. So that could be big. There's some potential matches there for Thompson to get Le'Veon Mays again. I think the Iowa true freshmen are going to go there too. They were scheduled to. Not sure how much, plans have changed in the last month since the season began, but that's the plan. So it's going to be jam-packed. And Tony Hager told me, Lars, we're going to have 3 dudes there covering the event.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, that's always a good tournament. You talk about those teams, just think about 165. You could have Isaiah Martinez, Daniel Lewis, Bryce Steiter up at 65. Maybe Alex Marinelli gets in that mix. We get to see him against some of those guys.
Caleb Young.
There. Yeah, Caleb Young. I mean, worth the price of admission right off the top. So, yeah, we're going to have a lot of guys at a lot of places this weekend, but this will definitely be one to keep an eye on.
And Nick Ryder's going to be the crew chief there, so definitely give him a follow. I think he's at Nick_Ryder55. Try and look that up. He's a good dude. Schwab Mob loves him. So you definitely gotta give him a follow. I'm gonna get that Twitter handle up in a second.
Yeah, you want to follow UNI Wrestling. You want to know about UNI Wrestling. He's definitely a great guy to have.
Oh, there's no 55. I don't know why I thought that, but it's just at Nick NIC _Ryder. So give him a follow. Like I said, he'll be crew chiefing us, and there's going to be so much coverage on the weekend slate that you might need to be following individual accounts because, we got 3 big tournaments this weekend. I'm not sure IA Wrestle, the main account, can handle it. So just keep that in mind, folks. And to finish up college wrestling here, the Hawkeyes also put up a big old walloping. How would you? What's your adverb for what they did to Purdue?
Whooping? I don't know.
A whooping. 34-3 over the Boilermakers. Did you get it? I know you didn't get a chance to watch this duel because pretty much nobody did. So I actually did get to see some of it. Shout out to Maddie Brands for periscoping it. BTN to go is not working. You just got to have the right people to follow on Twitter and got a chance to see some of this duel. Were there any results, though, that stood out to you? I mean, you obviously didn't get to see it, but was there something on paper that you saw?
Nothing too crazy. I would say, the biggest thing that stood out to me, which we talked about a little bit on the site today on Twitter, was, no back points for a whole duel. And, I mean, I know Purdue's a good team, but there's still a little worrisome to me that we can't get any back points there when you watch the teams going out and picking up just tons of bonus points in all these tournaments and events. I think that's something that could really come into play and be a big factor at the national tournament. So really like to see them get going on that. I will say, I thought Topher Carton had a really nice win, picking up the major, and really good to see Joey Gunther pick up a win in the lineup. And then Alex Meyer picking up a Tech Fall. I know Coach was really impressed with that one. That's a lot of points, putting up 25 points in Big Ten competition. So I thought that was a really nice win as well. So, they rolled. They didn't have a whole lot of trouble. But to me, I really want to see these guys start turning people, picking up some falls, and proving that they're going to, be able to put up bonus points at the end of the year when it really matters.
And so do you find the lack of back points in this duel concerning? Are you starting to, maybe inch toward the panic button at all?
I don't know about panic button, but I do find it concerning. I do think it's something that, really to show that they're able to turn guys. It's never been, the last few years, it's never really been a big, strong guys. Every once in a while you see Brooks turn guys, see Gilman turn guys, and maybe Corey Clark, but I think they're going to need Alex Meyer and Brandon Sorensen and Mike Kemmer and those guys to really be able to turn guys and pick up bigger wins. And yes, Brooks can turn some guys, but that's an extremely deep, extremely tough league. So, can he turn any of the top 10, 15 guys? I don't know. They gotta prove that they can really rack up points at this point.
I would agree with that. And kind of going through this duel, Gilman picked up a tech fall. I didn't get to see it, but just knowing from watching a lot of Thomas Gilman, once he figures out, what's working with the takedown, he typically, if he can just hit that at will, it's a good drill for him, I guess, because, that's pretty much all he did. I feel like he got like 6 takedowns in the last 2 periods. He really racked it up in the first. He's just, that's kind of what he does. I know he was the team leader in falls last year, and he obviously has 5 to start this year. So he does pin people, but at the same time, Thomas Gilman just does this a lot with him, take him down, let him up. Corey Clark was a little disappointing to be 2 points away from a major on a kid that he did major last year in Carver Hawkeye. But, you also hit on it that Carton had a good match. Alex Meyer, I couldn't even keep up. And that was something else. I think Meyer, he's another guy that probably could have went for back points against this guy, but he just completely broke him, and it was just so easy for him to just take him down, let him up, take him down, let him up. And it's a lot easier to get 5 points if you got a guy that's just broken, and, so I'm not too worried about it. There was a lot of good offensive performances. Cash Wilkie really gutted it out at the end, getting that last-second takedown. Stephen Holloway, that was kind of a disappointing match because Tyler Krall didn't look like a big heavyweight. But overall, I thought it was a really good performance. I'm not buying into the back point thing yet. Maybe if it's a problem against South Dakota State as well this weekend, maybe I'll start to listen to you. But right now, I'm totally out on that. So
yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't see too many matches where they're going to have a point or opportunities for bonus points against a team like Dakota State. That's a really good lineup. I think Gilman probably picks up bonus points. There's going to be a lot of tough matches. Corey Clark's going to have his hands full with Groves. A 7-4, they're really good. A lot of those weights are going to be a lot more competitive. South Dakota State's had a really good year already. And, they can go up there and put up bonus points. So it'll definitely, make me feel a little bit better about it. But I expect that to be a better duel than most people probably think. I think Iowa wins it handily, but I don't think you're going to see as many bonus points as you might think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that'll be interesting as well with South Dakota State. We love Bono and Reeder. They got that program humming right now. 25, you expect bonus, probably anywhere from 5 to 6, just because that's just kind of the guy you've come to expect. I think it'll be interesting to see what Topher Carton can do against Henry Pohlmeyer at 41. I wasn't expecting a major against Purdue, and he kind of came out and did that. Other than that, Sorensen did major Alex Koser. I believe that's her 49-pounder. He majored him last year in the duel. It was a 5-2 decision for Meyer. Sammy Brooks got a fall in his match. It wasn't against the same guy, but he did get a fall. And then I guess, maybe there seems to be a lot of talk about Sam Stoll might be close to return. He made the trip to Purdue. Mark Ironside was on the radio saying, he looks good. It could be close, but they could wait till Midlands to bring him back. I don't know what they're going to do with Sam Stoll, but he was utterly dominating Alex Mackey, an Iowa native there for South Dakota State. He beat him by disqualification last year just because he didn't want to do anything to do with those upper body ties that Stoll works with. So, there could be the doors open there for sure, but I think it's probably going to be a much more tight. It's going to be a tighter duel this year, I would think, than 28-15. That's what it was last year.
Yeah, I think so. It might be in that range. Obviously, if we got Stoll back, that would be a huge swing as well. I think Holloway is capable of beating Mackey, but he's also capable of losing that match where if, Stoll comes in, I would expect big points out of it. So, I expect it to be, I don't expect it to be a duel necessarily, but I think it's going to be a lot of really good competitive matches. And, I'd love to see Iowa be able to go in there and roll up bonus points, but I think they're going to struggle. I think there's going to be some tight matches, and I think it'll be a pretty fun duel to watch.
Yeah, and you can catch that all live on Flow Wrestling this weekend, so they'll have you covered there. Like I said, Cyclones out at Cliff Keene. UNI is down at their own UNI Open, so it's going to be busy this weekend as well. Lars, we had some big news that we broke today. Tony Hager is a breaking news fool, and he pulled out, out of his hat of his bag of tricks, maybe is how to call it. He comes out and tells us Joe Colon is headed to Des Moines to be a paid assistant and also be a part of the Viking Wrestling Club for Grandview. What did you think of this news when it dropped today?
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome news for Grandview. I think it's not a bad move for Joe. I think it's great that they're able to pay him. And NAIA has obviously a different set of rules in a lot of the different classes, and they can actually pay as many assistants as they want. There's actually not a limit to it, like there is in D1 and other levels. It's a great opportunity for them to be able to bring a guy of Joe's caliber in. He's able to work with his brother on a daily basis. He'll have guys like Brandon Wright in the room and the Viking Wrestling Club to work out with. So it's not like he's going to go to just no partners at all. I think it's a really good step for him. I think he'll still be able to train for the Olympics in 2020, still be able to be competitive there. But I know he is interested in coaching. I know he wants to work that way. So a great opportunity to learn from a great coach in Mitchell and, just keep working towards both those goals as he goes along.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I think there might be some more news coming out of that Grandview program soon. Tony Hager working relentlessly, man. He's always chasing leads. So stay tuned to IA Wrestle this week, or maybe you're listening to this later in the week and you're just going to have to go to iawrestle.com, check out the NAIA tab to see what's going on, because I think there's going to be some more news coming this week for Grandview. But I definitely love the move for Joe. Like you said, he gets to work with his brother. Not very many people get that opportunity to coach their brother. So that's got to be fun for him. Grandview is a phenomenal program. You can tell by how many people want to be a part of that coaching staff, how many people want to stick around that program, joining Cody Caldwell, former teammate up there. So I think it's just going to be, a home run for them, for Mitchell, for Cologne. And I'm going to be really interested to see, because obviously Cologne's planning on training. He's going to keep going. That's kind of a big question, whether he'll go do the 2020 cycle. And if he's training with the Viking Wrestling Club, I'd have to say that's a pretty big thumbs up. So definitely a big win for Grandview, for Joe Cologne, and for wrestling in general, I think.
Absolutely.
And then, I just want to bring the stock report up, the IA Wrestle stock report. Week 4 came out. Eric Shares puts those together. We've had a lot of good feedback on those. I just kind of want to bring it up, give them another little moment. This week his stock up was Drew Foster, Bryce Steyer, both got big wins in that UNI ODU duel we talked about. Then obviously that Joe Cologne news for Grandview that we just hit on. So that was his stock up. The stock down was, again, topics that we talk about on this podcast, getting onto the website is basically a lot of what this report does. Iowa not getting near fall, the Iowa State lineup injuries and question marks. And then, of course, Gabe Marino just having a rough return. So, check out the stock report. Eric Shears does a really good job with that. Just want to give him a little bit of a plug there. And then we'll look forward to the rest of the weekend. I told you we're going to be at the UNI Open, and now Lars is going to tell you where he's going to be.
Yeah, I am going to be in Independence at the Independence Invitational this weekend. It actually starts Friday. There's 25 teams entered in the high school tournament in the state of Iowa, which is almost unheard of. Not just teams. You got Alburnett, who I believe is number 1 in 1A. You got Solon, who's number 1 in 2A. New Hampton's number 2 in 2A. You have Fort Dodge, who's as good as anybody. South Tama's ranked. Crestwood's ranked. Christian Brothers College Academy out of Missouri, who's as good as they come down there. Clarion Goldfield, Cedar Rapids Prairie, who's ranked high. I mean, there's just going to be hammers all over this place. Lisbon, who's ranked. So I can't wait. I've heard different ways that they're going to do some pool play on Saturday. I believe they're going to do some pool play Friday and build maybe a couple brackets per weight on Saturday. So
I'm interested to see how they work this out. I know they'd like to get it to, I believe, a 32-team tournament if they can next year. So it's kind of been a growing thing the last few years, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be unreal. So looking forward to getting up there this weekend. And then I know we're also should have, I believe, hopefully 2 guys at the Keith Young as well in Cedar Falls. So another great tournament. You have Waverly Shell Rock, Dowling, Valley, Mason City, Don Bosco, Bettendorf, Denver Tripola, all their young studs, West Liberty, who's ranked this year in 2A, Union, North Scott. I mean, it's just going to be loaded field. I was already looking through a couple of the weights and who could all be there, and it's just going to be unbelievably packed. Colin Shriver is going to get thrown into action at 106 with, guys like Oldham and studs all over the place. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that Keith Young, it's always a fun tournament this weekend. It's always that first weekend in December. Oh, man, there's always been so many great matchups. That's where we've got to see Freddie Stroker taking on Max Thompson of Union. That was the big match that we got to get final video of. Bryce Steyert took on Dayton Racer. I mean, those are some of the first big videos that iWrestle put on YouTube, and they're still some of our most viewed videos today. So you can just tell that this Keith Young tournament it puts out some hammers. Definitely excited to have a couple guys there. You've already mentioned all these teams that are crazy good. If I know anything about Eric Shares, he's probably going to have a crazy good tournament preview like he has the last 2 years. So be on the lookout for that. Lars, you hit on that Independence tournament. I just want to say I'm so glad you're going to be there. Like you said, it's just growing like crazy. I believe there's going to be a final stream. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are planning on doing a final stream through Track Wrestling. So I believe you'll actually be able to get to it from Track or through, they have, I think it's indiewrestling.com is their website, team website, and I believe they usually show their stuff on there as well.
Perfect. Are you going to be commentating the finals there?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm going to try to see if I can't get some videos at least of the earlier rounds, and I'll be doing some updates on Twitter, things like that, and, hopefully have some breakdowns maybe before and hopefully afterwards as well.
That's right. So we got Lars. You'll be at the Independence tournament. I told you to follow at NICNick_writer. He's probably going to be doing UNI updates or UNI Open updates rather. Why don't you give out your Twitter handle? You
can follow me at Lars Wrestle, and I'll be at Independence all night or all weekend, and then actually tomorrow night I'll also be covering a duel between Lisbon, New London, West Liberty, and Davenport Central. So there's going to be a lot of fun matches there as well. I don't know if people know some of them, but one probably most looking forward to is 113. You have a chance to see defending state runner-up Sam Lloyd against super freshman who we've talked about for quite a while now, and Cale Happel. So that's a huge, right off the bat, you get to find out just how good Cale Happel is. He's the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state at 113. And then also you're going to have matches like Kobe Siebrecht at 106 from Lisbon taking on Will Esmoil, another super freshman from West Liberty. There's a chance to see Cooper Siebrecht at 126 against Javis Krieger from New London, who was ranked most of the year. West Liberty's got Joe Kelly and Bryce Esmo, both ranked number 1 in the state. So should be a lot of good wrestling there as well. So you can follow along tomorrow night, and I'll be trying to post some updates and hopefully get some videos and stuff like that up too.
That's right, at Lars IA Wrestle. He's going to be your dude this week. Also, Keith Young, I'm pretty sure it's Kurt Crittenden's going for sure, and he's at Critter K10. And Eric Shares probably is going to be there too, at Eric Shares. So all of our rankers are going to be out and about. We got Nick Ryder out. I'll probably be doing some Friday night South Dakota State coverage with Iowa, so I'm going to take care of you this week. Promise you that.
We're officially going to the moon this week. There's no coming now.
We are officially there. We're camped out. We're checking out Neil Armstrong's footprints there. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This was episode 74. For Lars Underbaki and Ross Barczyk, thanks again.